Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the payoff.
Jeff, rarely does a match get a "this is awesome" chant before any physical contact is made. This may be the first time that ever happened. I remember this well. It was just a sight to be seen, man. These two really awesome factions, probably both at their peak or close to it, squaring off. Man, you know, this was 9 years ago, and in some ways, I think feels like it was 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, really interesting. I'm excited to cover this one. You chose it. Why did you choose it?
Yeah, this was one, just kind of wanted to, it'd been a while since we, talked and did Bray Wyatt. And so I wanted to make sure that we were covering some, some Wyatt matches as well too. And this is one too, like one of the best. And so, especially with everything, Seth and Roman, and we're on the road to WrestleMania, you're seeing some of this stuff. I know recently we saw Bray is still, this a couple weeks ago at this point, but still on a legend, or put him on a Legends contract, and so the family's still they're taking care of him, which is good to see. And so and this is one I don't really remember. I think it was really, well, both were important factions. I think at this time I didn't respect it for what it was or kind of recognize what it was. And so just really kind of really cool to see everybody on their feet. And so I think it's just one to kind of talk about and get into.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped. I'm really pumped to cover this one. So this will be a lot of fun. I say we jump right into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right, so Elimination Chamber. I didn't realize how many of these things there's been. I mean, it just, maybe we're just getting old, man. But it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
This was, what did you say this was? This was like the fifth one?
This is season 5. Yeah.
Okay. And which means we're in, what are we at now? Season 14 or whatever of Elimination Chamber pay-per-views. God.
Yeah, that's just the pay-per-view. We've had the matches separate from that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the February 23rd, 2014, we're in the Target Center in Minneapolis, 14,000 in attendance. So Cody Rhodes and Goldust are going to defeat Ryback, which was Ryback and Curtis Axel, by pinfall in the dark match. Larry Hennig was actually in the corner of Curtis Axel and Ryback. Just that Curtis Axel thing, man, it just nothing ever happened with it, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately, I know they, what was it? Yeah, they tried and just, couldn't take off. Yep.
So we start off with Big E, your Intercontinental Champion, retaining against Jack Swagger. The New Age Outlaws, your Tag Team Champions. Who are they going to defeat to retain the titles? The Usos. It's fun. Titus O'Neil defeated Darren Young. Then the match we're going to cover. Then Cameron defeated AJ Lee by disqualification in 4 minutes. So, we talked last week about the evolution of the women's division, but 4-minute popcorn match right there, so it wasn't there yet. Semi-main event, Batista is going to defeat Alberto Del Rio in 7 minutes and 11 seconds. That match was 7 minutes and 8 seconds longer than I wish it would have been. I wish Batista would have just powerbombed him and won. Your main event, 37-minute Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Randy Orton is going to retain his title against Daniel Bryan, John Cena, Cesaro, Christian, and Sheamus. So a fun card overall. The match we're going to cover was the match of the night. The main event was really strong too, and that's about it. So, from a storyline standpoint, how do we get to these two factions squaring off?
Yeah, so we're going to see when we start this matchup, they're both kind of literally squared up face to face on this one. But we'll start, Elimination Chamber taking place was February 23rd, 2014. We're going to go back actually to Survivor Series. It was November 24th. You had Harper and Rowan losing a tag team match. It was actually against Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. You then had, and this was the kind of the storyline just happening with Bryan breaking off from the family. And so that's something I want to point out. While we got the Shield and the Wyatt, there was the bigger story was going on at this point with Daniel Bryan leaving the Wyatt family as well too. And so they had been, through December trying to recruit him. Kind of playing off of that. So it was the final Raw of 2013. You had Bryan defeating Luke Harper and then Eric Rowan in a gauntlet match that would lead Bryan to facing Wyatt, where then, of course, you had Harper and Rowan interfering, causing a DQ, kind of beating down Bryan. And so he ended up joining the Wyatt family. But it was just a couple weeks later. He had been punishing Bryan kind of, for joining the family. So it's January 13th, starting to show the signs of what was happening. And that was, of course, the huge moment of him sitting, taking out Wyatt, sitting on the top of the cage, like kind of, everybody losing their minds, the yes chants, just craziness. And so, before this too, you actually was at the Rumble on January 26th. You had Wyatt defeating Bryan in a singles match. That was actually the end of their feud. And then you had Harper with 2 eliminations in the Rumble, Rowan with 0, and they were both eliminated. And so busy time for the Wyatt family, especially focusing on the Daniel Bryan stuff, and then Harper and Rowan just kind of doing their own thing. So the Shield on the flip side, so it was actually late November. They were feuding with CM Punk. There was a handicap match between Punk and the Shield, tables, ladders, and chairs. You had Punk winning that one, actually, because we were starting to see signs, and they weren't sure exactly what they were doing with the Shield at this point, and starting to see signs of them breaking up. There was always dissension as well too. Eventually, Seth and stuff like that with the chair. But it was actually in mid-December where what I was reading, WWE originally planned to break up the Shield after the match, but they asked to remain together due to their lack of experience as singles wrestlers. And so, kind of an interesting take there of what could have been if the Shield broke up back in 2014, and we didn't get any of what we got. And so, but they really continued to feud with Punk heading into 2014 at this point. But then kind of how we talked about that Elimination Chamber, it was the January 27th episode of Raw. The Wyatt family attacked John Cena, Daniel Bryan, and Sheamus during the Elimination Chamber qualifying match against the Shield. And so Cena's team got the win by DQ, disqualification over the Shield. And so that is why the three of them, Cena, Bryan, and Sheamus, were in the Elimination Chamber. And so could have had the Shield in that Elimination Chamber, but obviously they were going for this Wyatt Shield angle as well too. And so that's how we ended up getting this match, is because the Shield wasn't in that Elimination Chamber match. You get them taking on the Wyatt family in this match. And so other kind of just sidebar storyline that was going on here as well too. Ambrose actually had the US Championship. And so you had kind of that going on as well too. So just a lot of different angles here, a lot of different pieces moving, and makes sense, just the singular storyline of these guys taking on each other. But on the flip side, they all had other things going on as well too. So a lot of moving pieces, but good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff going on. Really enjoyed the build for this though. So let's get into it. We are at the 1 hour mark, 1 hour even, season 5, Elimination Chamber 2014. Jeff, are you ready?
I got it pulled up. Let's do this, man.
It's time for the payoff.
Ho! It's time for the payoff.
We're squared up in the ring at this point. You got Ambrose. This was the loose cannon as well, too, if you remember when he was in WWE. And so Harper Rowan flanking Bray, kind of Bray antagonizing them, but Roman kind of holding back Dean as well, too. Seth just on the side of there. I love the blonde streak as well, too. Can't forget about that. And Seth looking good. Everybody looking good. As well as the flak jacket look that stuck around for so long with them. Yep.
What timestamp are you at?
What am I at here? I am at 138, 9, 40,
Perfect.
41. All right.
We're on.
And we're beating down each other. They faked it like they were going to the corners, and now we got everybody beating up on each other.
This is just hot, man. Everybody's standing up. I mean,
yep. Shield kind of clearing them out. Yep.
6 really, really good workers. God. Leading up to WrestleMania 30.
Yep.
This was on the network. I think this was the first pay-per-view. I think they did the NXT TakeOver one that we covered, and then they did is like kind of a test run, and then this, and then WrestleMania 30.
It would make sense, yeah.
I don't think Royal Rumble. I think Royal Rumble was still like a traditional pay-per-view you'd pay for, but man. God,
this is February of 14. So yeah, after last week, that would make sense that this one kind of took place. So yeah,
just 2 3-man factions, like it's very distinct looks to them, you know.
Yep. We're starting here. We got Rowan and Seth officially starting the match after the little quick beatdown. Yep.
So
red beard, whatever. Yep.
Yeah, man, I would love it. I mean, it'll be years from now, but it's like there's a lot of the Shield stuff that I don't necessarily remember.
Yep.
So, like, they come out in 2012 at Survivor Series, and it was like the whole setup was it was like doing the dirty work for Punk, right?
Yes.
Okay, so they do that, and then you have all of 2012. You've 2013. This is in 2014. Do you remember the Triple H Orton Batista matches? Like those
I don't. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't remember
we'll
get some of those added. Yeah.
Those were in there as well. So
the presentation was just so different, like coming in from the crowd, like, we love a faction around here. We're a big fan. And so just how they were, doing it was just super cool. It really was.
And then I guess they broke up not that long after this. So this would have been June, okay, is when, this ended. Then they brought them back together a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, you talk about like money matches,
and
who knows if it could ever happen, but given how big of stars they've become, I mean, if you could get to a 3-way at a WrestleMania with those 3,
oh my gosh, yeah. Like I don't know. I don't think. Unlike, we talked about Jericho a couple of weeks ago and him going back one day. I don't know if Dean would ever go back. I think it would.
One of the few you think, hey, he may not ever.
I feel like it would take. I think the only people that could get him back would be Roman and Seth. I don't think anybody management wise could get him back.
And I don't even know if they're still friends. Like, I mean, he's such an oddball. Like,
right, yeah.
I could see Seth and Dean not talking since he left the company, to be honest with you. It's such a company man and the wife and the whole, I could see them just not talking. I mean, not that there's anything bad, but just, we haven't spoken in years. So I don't know if he'd be close to them or that would sway him.
Well, yeah, and you wonder some of it's just the I just don't see it swaying him, for one. I just don't think that would be possible. But I think maybe with the right storyline, and like I said, it has to be Roman or it has to be Seth that kind of make the call. But who knows? Prove me wrong, you know? So
Man,
now you've got Roman and Harper in the ring, tagging in Ambrose though. Yeah, this was Dean when he was just like, it comes out the wild thing now, but this is when, yeah, he was the loose cannon out there as well too. Just wrestled really aggressively. Yep.
who's your favorite Shield member?
Seth. If I had to pick right now, like it's definitely Seth. Just kind of, that might reevaluate that after we look at like what, we'll watch some Shield matches and kind of see. But I feel like overall, I like Seth more right now than I do Roman. But I mean, who knows?
Seth does nothing for me.
Yeah, I know you've said that before. You're just not. Yeah.
So Roman number one for me. This current Roman, not the one that was forced down our throats for 5 years prior to that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The Roman today. Right. Not.
And
tribal chief. Yeah.
and I still believe that at some point Roman Reigns is the biggest baby face in WWE.
It'll happen. We'll see the turn in our life.
I don't know how and when we'll get there, but I just feel like
Seth and Harper tagging D back in. Here we go. Just kind of everybody working hard at this point. We've said this, you hear it all the time. Like Bray has not been in yet. Just 6-man tag can get a little bit of a cluster at some point, but so far they're not doing too bad kind of with the tags and kind of keeping things moving. Yep.
Do you believe that Bray, could have and should have been bigger than he was?
Okay. Dean trying to knock everybody out. Ooh, huge drop kick there, though. Yeah, so I think too, like, looking back on like kind of what Bray contributed, like I said, we're gonna talk about it more. I'm sure the next couple of weeks we got another match of his and stuff like that. So Bray is in the ring now. Like, how is it botched so bad with him? Like, was Vince did he not like the character? Like, his return before he died was just. The pop was, it was CM Punk level of pop, like if not louder sometimes, I think. And so when, what happened? You with me there, buddy? There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Something was wrong with your audio.
Yeah, okay. My headphone cord pulled out.
Yeah, because I was talking and you just ignored me like 3 times in a row. So then I put my headphones in, thinking it was my problem. And then my headphones still didn't work. And then I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay, this is wrong on your end."
Yeah, well, then you didn't respond to me. Yeah, so this is what happens when you do the show, everybody. So yeah, so my question to you is, how did they botch Bray so bad? Nope, maybe not.
No, we're good. We're good now. I took my headphones out. So yeah, that was the question I was asking you before. So my question was just like, what did do you look at Bray like they underachieved or didn't do enough with him? You're kind of asking the same question, and I mean, this guy was the modern day Undertaker.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and if that's not the right analogy, fine. It's Mick Foley with like the multiple. I mean, there was. I don't look back at a lot of talents and a lot of stuff and say what if. Like, I don't know how many. I mean, yeah, there's individual stuff of what if this guy would have won this match or what if they would have done this. But I mean, I don't know how many people I look at and go, that career could have been so much more than it was. I guess you could always look at guys and go, "Oh, Shelton Benjamin's a really good worker. I, would have liked to have seen him in a better." Sure, okay, fine. But like, I look at Bray Wyatt and I believe that if you could go back and obviously again, there's health things, there's things that are out of our control. But I think if you could go back to whenever he debuted and rebook it, what is the upside? I mean, I if I told you that he could have been a top 10 all-time star, I don't think that's an unreasonable statement. And I'm talking, Undertaker type guy,
20 years, yeah.
20-year run where you look back and you go, well, he had this swamp creature, backwoods, creepy thing, faction. Then he's the Fiend. Then he's doing the Funhouse stuff. Then you've got the current incarnation. And then you've got the ability for him to go out and just be Bray, right? Wyndham Rotunda, like you look at all that and then you say, the promo skills, 10 out of 10, work rate, really good, really good worker. You can do the supernatural stuff. You can play it straight. The ovation he got at Extreme Rules when he came back. I mean, I just think that the ceiling on him was one of the all-time greats. And, I don't know. Maybe it was his attitude. Maybe he wasn't in the best of shape. Maybe he was hard to work with, health issues. I don't know. And maybe we'll never know. And you don't want to, speak poorly of those that are not with us anymore. But I look at him and I just think that could have been one of the biggest stars in that company in history.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess I'm thinking you agree with me on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's unfortunate because we'll never know. And so, but I think he was poised to, kind of start taking up that mantle, especially with the return. I know we complained a little bit. It got a little long and the Uncle Howdy stuff. And it was just, some of it was getting a little weird sometimes, but on the flip side, like, who knows, like now, where would we have been today? Like, kind of in this lead up to WrestleMania and stuff like that, or, what would have could have happened at the Rumble and all of that. I think that we'll just, the never know is kind of sucks. And I think we've learned too, since like he was universally liked backstage. I don't think there was anybody that, it makes sense, but I think even more so than we knew and realized at the time, like, everybody loved the guy. Like he was fantastic. And so that's always cool to see. And so, yeah, it's just, and also like Luke Harper the same way, ended up in AEW like too soon. Like, it really sucks. We know like we're living in the era where a lot of these older wrestlers are we know that, something's going to happen to them eventually and time's going to catch up to them. And on the flip side, it sucks when like guys that are younger than us and, don't expect that are dying as well too. And we don't get to see, it sucks. We don't get to see what could have been. Yeah.
Yeah. So this combination, these 6 guys were 3 of the top 7 matches of Bray's career.
Okay.
Also, there was a last man standing match with Cena and Bray that was 4.5 stars. That'd be a fun one to watch.
Yep, we got it on a list. Yep.
Okay. There was a Survivor Series match. There was the Elimination Chamber match. There was a fatal 5-way match at Extreme Rules with Bray, Finn, Roman, Joe, and Seth. That's kind of fun. So, yeah, I mean, the guy's catalog was pretty phenomenal. Now, one of the, knocks or whatever, and it's no different with The Undertaker, is there's some stuff that didn't work in there. But creatively, you're taking these huge risks, right? Like the Saudi match where it was all read out and it was him and Seth, and it just didn't work. I mean, but like they tried something, right? And so the things they tried with this guy never bothered me. I think sometimes like even like the LA Knight stuff, right? Like his last like real program, people didn't like that or bashed or whatever. And I mean, at the time I thought, this is fine, right? I mean, like that pitch black match, I'm looking here, it got 3/4 of a star. I don't know, when you watched it at Royal Rumble, did you think it was that bad?
No, I think at the time we liked it because it was different.
Yeah, I just didn't. I don't know. I mean, I was just like, it was a little long. It wasn't a great match, but I didn't think it was horrible.
No, it wasn't. And I think
that's hard to believe. That was earlier. I mean, that was like only a year ago.
Well, and we
Doesn't that seem a lot longer ago?
Yeah, and we hear it all the time. Like, we want new things, or they're not building new stars, but then they try new things and we don't get new stars. Like, you got to pick your lane here. And we do it occasionally too. But I know I've gotten better at it since we started the show. But like at a certain point, like, yeah, okay, fine. Like they did it, it was fine. Like I didn't care for that. What was that zombies match or whatever it was? Like sometimes there's just going to be cross promotion, but you got to remember too, like there's been cross promotion of stuff in wrestling since wrestling has been around. And so whether it's music or movies or whatever it is, like how RoboCop showed up, and so I think it's just one of those where sometimes it's not everybody's cup of tea, but then the next match, like I remember the first Logan Paul match, did either of us expect to enjoy that match? No, but it was fantastic. And so there's just all those kinds of things, even like the Bad Buddy match in Puerto Rico. Like Bad Bunny's a wrestler. It's crazy to say, but dude goes out there and puts in work, and he does the time and all that. And so, yeah, just kind of, I'm all for trying to stuff, even with the Cena match as well too. So between Bray and him that they did more recently, the kind of over the progression of his eras, if you will, some Taylor Swift shit. And so, yeah, I think it's just, it's interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, so yeah, Seth going for the hot tag now with Roman. Here we go. Yep.
But final match of Harper's career was actually against Cody.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
4.5 star strap match. Or, I'm sorry, dog collar match.
Dog collar. Yep. I remember that. Yep.
Wow. Man, that's crazy.
Dean's on the outside looking phased here. You got Roman moving fast. Yeah. Kind of taking everybody out as well, too. Interesting. Yep.
Well, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, Brave with the save there. Yep, good stuff.
Creatively, it just wasn't good at this time compared to what it is now.
Yeah, it really wasn't.
And that's the biggest thing. It's not like they didn't have the talent on the roster. But it's just, the work that Triple H has done, and I'm sure Bruce Pritchard has been a huge, asset as well. But the work that they've done the past couple of years has just been fantastic.
Well, and that's interesting. You bring up an interesting point here. I don't think we have much match left here, but
the place is going nuts.
Roman with a small package, 1, 2, nope.
You can see remember, this is the middle of the card.
Yeah, huge clothesline there.
Middle of the card, everyone's on their feet. Place is going nuts. You got all 6 guys down. This is just fantastic.
What was article I'm trying to find real quick. Oh yeah, that was awesome. So we talk about the bad booking and the creativity at this point. And so one of the things that was a Baron Corbin article actually recently. I guess the question is always who's on your wrestling Mount Rushmore. But the headline of the article was who does Baron Corbin, like these wrestlers WWE star Baron Corbin picks these wrestlers' brains when he needs advice. Who is the minds on your Mount Rushmore when you're like if Baron Corbin's looking to people for advice, and we hear this all the time in AEW, like nobody, it's the persistent rumor of nobody ever, uses CM Punk or asks for advice, or, people visit and they don't do anything. And so, but I guess who is not necessarily your Mount Rushmore, but like some of these wrestlers at this point, like who are you, like who would you go to? Who do you want to talk to? Obviously Shawn Michaels is on your list, but like who else?
So I'll give you 4 names. One's no longer with us, Scott Hall.
Okay.
Guy was brilliant. Everyone said that.
Yep.
And I did at a convention, I did a meet and greet thing with him where we had lunch with him. There were 6 of us that had lunch with Scott Hall. Yep. Dude, brilliant. Just his mind for the business, and just so sharp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jake Steak Roberts.
Okay. Yep. He would be on my list too. Yep.
Okay. Shawn Michaels and CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my 4. And hey, I'll give you 5. Paul Heyman.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like it's an interesting distinction because those people aren't necessarily going to be on people's Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, maybe, Punk, whatever, Michaels, but at the same time, like it's a very different list when you start thinking about like who are you going to for that mentor, who are you trying to get advice from the ring? Like, Dusty would have been one for me if he was still around. Like, I feel like the NXT, everybody that came from that era of NXT are constantly like Dusty was the best thing ever to the wrestling industry. Like, I wonder is one day Cody, I don't know if he'll be that guy, but I think that's interesting. I think you got to look at guys that have like, been around maybe different promotions, wrestled different styles, different characters, reinvented themselves. Like that's the type of person that I would want to be looking for. Like you said, or like who was heel, face, like where was it? Where are you coming from type thing. Yeah, I think there's just so many names that who are you going to? And I forget who he said exactly was on his list. Oh yeah, Tyson Kidd he had on his list as someone that he would constantly go, yikes, yeah. So that's Seth through the table, yeah,
Yeah, I
big
mean,
time.
Tyson Kidd, he's apparently done a great job with the women. I mean, does a great job with the women.
Yep.
I mean, just the theatrics of this, like just the Bray stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I never the Daniel Bryan Wyatt family stuff. I just never got it. Just never did anything for me.
I mean, I think part of it is their reluctancy. I say WWE's reluctancy to go with the story. Like he got himself over, which is something that WWE does not like, and so
Yeah.
I think their reluctancy to buy into that. So you got all 3 surrounding Roman at this point. Yep. I think that's what hurt it. Like I can't imagine how it would have been different. Like they finally, yeah, he got the title and they worked out, but at the same time, like, yeah, I think there's just a lot that who knows what we could have gotten if they had actually put all of their weight behind it.
Yeah, again, it was just it was a weird era. It was an era. So, like, here's how I'll explain this era here that we're watching versus now. I feel like in that era, and I think a lot of it just has to do with Vince McMahon. Love him, hate him. I mean, just a kind of a stubborn guy. I just think a lot of it was like it felt like they were doing what they wanted to do, not what the fans wanted, and they were often going against the current.
Yep.
Now, I feel like we basically get everything we want. And the only time we don't get what we want is when we get what we want 6 months or a year later.
Yep.
We want LA Knight. Well, we got him. We just got him a little later than we wanted, right?
Yep.
And we might get more of him at WrestleMania. We want Roman Reigns as a heel. Well, we got it. Oh, we want Punk back. We got it.
Yep.
I mean, name it. What do you?
LA Knight was a totally different character.
Yeah. Oh, we wanted Cody to win at 39. Well, maybe he'll win at 40 instead. But I mean, you're getting everything. And it's just, I think it's just a different philosophy of Triple H saying, all right, we're gonna do what the fans want for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Vince thought that way.
Well, yeah, I think we've said this before. Like, it was Roman getting psyched up here, but people like big spear there to Harper, and it was Bray taking him out.
Jeez.
Sister Abigail coming, maybe. Yep. It's a cool finisher. Yep.
Wow.
So got this.
Really weird to see Roman Reigns get pinned.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah. Like
and he hasn't been pinned since this.
Yeah, not at least tag match on this point or triple or 3-way, but yeah, still crazy.
Dude. I mean, what a match! They're just all clapping. It was fantastic.
It got cooking. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Very good. Yep.
Excellent. All right, let's get to the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
What'd you think?
really good. A little chaotic on the front end, made a little sense in the middle there, and then you got a little chaotic in the end, but it was still really good overall.
Dude, it was excellent. That
Yeah.
was phenomenal.
Outside the ring, inside the ring, all the action was just really good. And so, so what happened on this one after the fact? And so, it was, of course, at this one, the Shield losing to the Wyatt family. You had Ambrose and Bray were up in the crowd. Then you got Bray coming back. But Ambrose not around, and so that was part of this as well too. Is then you only had Seth and Roman kind of fighting this one, kind of overwhelmed, and so it was 2 weeks later on Raw. The Shield lost a rematch against the Wyatt family, which again Rollins walked out on that match, and so again just kind of teasing the breakup over and over again. The Wyatt family on the flip side, like I said, they won that rematch. And then another week later was actually main event. The Wyatt family defeated the Shield in another 6-man tag. So this was really the end of the feud. When you're on main, that is another crazy thing. On main event was where they ended the feud between these 6 guys. And so just kind of crazy to think that that's how it played out and where they ended. PWI on this one, I'll kind of go in order of the teams here. Rowan was 57, Harper was 34, Bray was 6. You had Ambrose at 18, Seth at 12, Roman at 7. And so the observer on this one, Shield versus Wyatt. So this was special. The teams came out for a stare down, and the crowd spent several minutes chanting, "This is awesome," followed by dueling chants for both teams. Bray was screaming at Dean Ambrose that he was the weak link, which Dean was not happy to hear. Finally, a brawl broke out, and the Shield cleared the ring. He prepped to hit Bray with a spear, but Harper returned to take the bullet. Bray then wiped Reigns out with a back elbow and finished him off with Sister Abigail for the win. Announcers pointed out for a year and a half, the Shield had always managed to outnumber their opponents, and now they're getting beaten by their own game. Fans were swaying back and forth to Wyatt's music. This was a great pay-per-view match, and if this was the last time we see the Shield as a unit, they went out on top. 4.5 stars. So Tom, where are you giving this one?
Dude, I like 8.5.
Yeah,
I loved it. I love these guys. I loved it. A+.
Yeah, I'm at 8.5 too. This is one too. I think it was a little chaotic in a good way, and so that's what I would tell people. Like if you're, trying to find a match like that, like this is one that, yeah, absolutely worth it. Really good, just a good one to check out overall. Yep.
There you go.
Yeah,
how do we
good
do?
stuff. Not too bad, man. I'd say, like I said, we're on the road to WrestleMania. That's feeling good. Like we got all kinds of, just things happening over the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna pull up the list right here. Next week, what do we got going on here? We're going to WCW, crazy Sting and Vader. We talked about Sting a little bit last week, and so the White Castle of Fear strap match. There's like we were talking about placement and our product placement. This is a big one. And then we're staying within the true Wyatt family, or rather the Wyndham family on this one. And we're doing both like this. After we talked last week, we're going back to NXT Arrival for Bo Dallas and Neville. And so that should just be interesting. And then we're getting, we are in the WrestleMania season, hardcore at that point. We got one more match after that. Not a great match, the Doomsday Cage match, Hogan, Savage, and the Alliance. And then we're on the road to Mania, which we'll kind of save the spoilers for that for a later date. But yeah,
I'm ready.
and just exciting time in wrestling, man. Yeah, absolutely. And so so enjoy the Chamber. Chamber's 2 weeks away at this point, and so we get to watch that as well. I do have who has won, because we're not covering a Chamber match here, who has won the trivia for the day, the most Elimination Chamber matches?
John Cena.
Triple H at 4.
That was my next guess.
There you go. Yep. It's a little trivia to send him home with. So Tom, send him home happy, man.
All right. Well, we appreciate everyone listening, and we'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.